Hello, my name is Bess, and this is the second video in the Externship Supervisor video series on goal setting. As important as goal setting is at the start of a student's externship, the process continues throughout the experience. This means the students that you supervise will need your continued support in achieving their goals. First, students need to monitor their progress and check in on their goals throughout their externship. And supervisors are in a great position to assist them in doing so. When you meet with students, it's easy to focus on the immediate tasks and projects at hand, but taking the time to check in on their goals and ask them how they're progressing helps them keep track of their progress. Goals, of course, are easier to track if they're broken down into steps, so it's good to check in on their action steps and their measurements for each goal they set for their externship. Feedback is obviously very important to not only understanding how they're doing in their externship work, but in achieving their goals. Feedback sessions are great opportunities to ask students to check in on their own progress regarding goals. How do the students feel about them? Also, when supervisors offer students feedback, it's really great if that feedback, at least some of it, can be tied to the goals. For example, if a student's goal is to conduct a client intake all on their own at their externship, the supervisor could give them specific feedback about what they've seen in terms of the student's communication skills and how the student performed when assisting others with intakes so far. It's really critical to use the feedback loop throughout the semester as the student externs. The feedback loop is when the student performs externship work, they gather feedback from their supervisors or others that have been able to observe their performance. They analyze that feedback, act to integrate it, and then repeat the process. Students might need some help seeing how feedback relates to their goals and how to integrate it. Check in with students. Make sure they understand the feedback. Sometimes they feel that they can't ask follow-up questions when they don't. Also, make sure they understand how to implement the feedback in their future work projects. It could also be helpful to ask students what additional feedback they're going to need in order to check their goal progress, and consider referring them to others for multi-source feedback when possible. Students may also need to adjust their goals. Sometimes the types of experiences students anticipate having in their externship just don't materialize. It's important to help students reframe or rethink goals without feeling like doing so is a failure. It's an important lesson on how legal practice works. There are often unexpected turns in cases, delays, clients decide not to pursue claims, cases settle, deals fall apart. Supervisors are in a really good position to help students understand this and possibly share your own experiences with cases taking turns that you weren't expecting. Students sometimes lack perspective that's needed to not take having to adjust goals as failure. They rely on supervisors to help them navigate this uncertainty. To the extent supervisors can be honest and open about times that things did not work out as they expected in their legal careers is really helpful for helping students gain that needed perspective. Sometimes the goal just isn't going to work out, and it can be really helpful to help the student reframe that. Perhaps a new experience has come up instead. Maybe they won't get to work on a trial, but they can help with a key deposition or draft a key motion. Or perhaps they have a chance to work on a new professional skill or competency. They can present some research or findings at a team meeting, or they can do legal research in a new area of the law. If a goal is working out and a new opportunity doesn't readily present itself, help the student brainstorm ideas. If there's something else they've seen based on their experience so far they'd like to work on, is there someone on the team they haven't worked with or for yet and we're really hoping to connect with them? Helping them feel ownership over finding new opportunities and partnerships is key. Of course, supervisors can also help students boost their resilience. Sometimes students make mistakes or fail, perform poorly. Maybe they have a terrible draft of a document or are not prepared in court and make a mistake. Achieving a goal might have been dashed. As a mentor, the supervisor is in a position to help the student think through the lessons that come from failure and also an opportunity to normalize it. Perhaps supervisors can share times they've made mistakes early in their career and what they learned from it. Also, supervisors can help students frame these instances, right? Students may have failed at a task, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're a failure. As students wind down their externship, a supervisor is in a great position to help them reflect on the overall experience. Progress that students make toward their goals really can and should be celebrated. Help students recognize what they achieve. Sometimes they've met the goal even if it doesn't look or feel the way they imagined it would. And if goals aren't fully achieved, help them understand what they've learned and the skills they've gained along the way, and help them frame their progress as success. You can also encourage them to find additional experiences so that they continue toward achieving those goals. Students should also conclude their externships with evidence of skills and competencies they were able to demonstrate in the externship. They don't always realize how important it is. Most will be able to provide a good narrative of what they did. For example, I interviewed key witnesses and helped prepare them for trial. But supervisors can help them develop narratives about the skills they used. I utilized new communication skills as I explained proceedings to witnesses, answered their questions, and put them at ease. The evidence of their skills and competencies are really key to helping them be successful as they take these skills out into their next position. On that note, it's also really helpful to help students prepare for their next experience. It could be another externship or something similar. Maybe they're going to be a summer associate somewhere, or they could be preparing to enter the legal workforce. As you help the student reflect on their accomplishments, don't be afraid to suggest things they can continue working on. Maybe they really have some strengths. They're an excellent negotiator, and you want to encourage them to get more experience in this area. Maybe they're destined to be a great trial lawyer, and you want to encourage them to seek out other opportunities to work in litigation. Acknowledge strengths and offer suggestions for how they can continue to build on these skills, but also recognize where they need to improve. Maybe their writing's really improved, but they really still need to work on making legal analysis more concise or to be more exhaustive in their research. Offer these suggestions. As a final thought, don't miss out on an opportunity to get feedback from your student externs. Ask how they felt about you supervising them in terms of achieving their goals and the feedback that you gave them. If you don't ask, you might miss out on an opportunity to provide even more support, guidance, and feedback for a future extern. This underscores the idea that an externship is a mutually beneficial relationship, and students really want to feel that they make an impact on their externship placement, so it's helpful when you give them an opportunity to do so.